Hey guys, homework tonight is only 10 problems. I'll do 2 of them for you. I'll do one from the top set of functions and one from the bottom set of functions. The one I'm going to do from the top set is number 3. I'm going to calculate, this is how it's read, f of g of h of -1. So the function I'm going to begin with is h of x, and I'm going to plug in -1 for x. So I'm going to do h of x when x is -1. Now for that, I'm going to use my h of x function, right? That's this. So instead of x, I'm going to use -1. All right, so that's -1 squared minus 4, which is 1 minus 4, which is -3. All right, so now I have this -3, and we talked about in class that we're not done. We just take that -3 and we plug it into the next function outward. So the next function is g. So I'm going to use g next, and instead of using x, I'm going to use -3. G of x comes from here. So instead of having 3x, I'm going to have 3 times -3 plus 7. That's going to be -9 plus 7, which is -2. And again, we're not done. But f of x is just a function that has only points in it. So we're really hoping that -2 ends up being one of the inputs in our function f of x. And we're lucky because f of x has 4 points. One is the point 0, 6, which is to say that if 0 is input into this function, 6 is its output. If 1 is an input, 9 is an output. If -4 is an input, -2 is an output. So what we are plugging into f of x, we're using f of -2. And when -2 is an input, -8 is the output. That is your answer, because we bounced from g back out to f. So f of g of h of -1 is -8. Let's move down to the bottom group. I'll do number 10 for you because 10 is just a flashback to some lessons from last week, but we still got to remember we can't forget that stuff. This is asking, what is p inverse of x? Well, p of x is the square root of x squared plus 3. And remember, p of x is just another name for y. We just title it p of x because we have so many functions that these would all say y equals y equals y equals, and then how will we distinguish between them? So in order for this process to work, we're going to go back to calling it y. And remember that if we're finding the inverse, we have 2 steps. Step 1 is switch x and y. And then step 2 is to solve for y. So now I got to get y by itself. So what I'm going to have to do right now is get rid of this square root. The way we get rid of a square root is by squaring both sides. So now I'm going to have x squared, and over here I'll just have y squared plus 3. All right. Now I got to get rid of that 3, so I'm going to subtract 3 from both sides. So now I have x squared minus 3 equals y squared. Now I have to get rid of that exponent that's a 2, so I'll take the square root of both sides, and I'll end up with y all by itself equals the square root of x squared minus 3. And now y is alone. So it said, what is p inverse of x? Well, now we can go back and we can substitute that back in for y. So I'm going to say, I know what p inverse of x is. It is the square root of x squared minus 3. Takes care of that. All right. Hopefully that's helpful, guys. Have a great weekend, and I'll see you all on Monday.